Today, we're talking about productivity. Of all of our responsibilities as doctors, the most onerous is paperwork. And it can definitely be a struggle trying to keep up with the constant flow of emails, patient notes, research, and other paperwork that continues to pile up on your desk. As a medical student, resident, fellow, and now as an attending orthopedic surgeon with a busy academic practice, I've streamlined my approach to be as efficient as possible. Today, I'm going to share with you my top 5 productivity tips for doctors that will help you carve out a successful and balanced career. If you're new here, my name is Adrian Huang and I'm an orthopedic surgeon who helps young and aspiring doctors create successful and balanced careers. I used to try to do everything with my brain, but I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so obviously that didn't work out very well for me. But it all changed when I read a quote by David Allen, who said that your brain is for creating ideas, not storing them. And that made me realize that I had to offload all the storage components of my life. And that's the principle in which I developed my productivity framework. Tip number 1, and perhaps the most important tip, is use a calendar. If you do one thing today, go get a calendar app and start using it. How to set up and streamline your workflow on your calendar is a talk in and of itself, but all you have to remember is to get one, use it, and automate it. The calendar app you choose does not have to be fancy, and it can be one that comes with your phone already, whether it's iCal, Gmail, or Outlook. I use Outlook calendars because that's what most of my administrative staff at the hospital uses, and that allows me to better optimize and automate my workflow. Once you get your calendar and set it up, start using it. Start blocking off time for everything, including clinical work, academic work, and even personal time. And then share this with everybody in your administrative circle. If you need to, set reminders for yourself, especially for those important or time-sensitive deadlines. And finally, make your calendar work for you by automating it. Outsource and share your scheduling so you don't have to do it yourself by sharing your calendars with everybody, including your personal assistants, the assistants of the hospital or your academic institution, or create automated self-bookings with apps like Calendly. The second thing I do is automate, and I make use of everything at my fingertips, including apps or my personal electronic medical record to help me achieve this. For example, in my electronic medical records, I have templates for every dictation that saves me significant amounts of time. Some EHRs also again have self-scheduling for patients that will save your office significant workload, as well as sending automated confirmation reminders either through email or text. This may not sound like a lot, but it really goes a very long way to saving you that time, especially if you're not spending 5 minutes dictating every single patient note. Tip number 3 is to use digital note-taking for all of your projects. This allows you to easily search, organize, and collaborate with all of your peers. It can be as simple as something like an online Google Docs or an online Word file, but my 2 favorite ones are OneNote and Milanote. OneNote I used religiously during fellowship, and I actually still look back at some of my notes right now. Milanote is something that I found as an attending, and it really goes a long way to helping me manage, plan, and collaborate with all of my projects. The 4th thing I do, and this was a really hard thing for me to learn, was to one-touch my emails. The idea of one-touching emails means that every time you look at an email, you look at it one time and then you deal with it. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to deal with it fully, but it does mean that you're able to prioritize and file it somewhere else, either for later use or deal with the ones that are really, really urgent immediately. The idea of one-touching eventually should mean that you can get through most of your emails in about 20 minutes a day or so. Again, this topic can be a video on its own, but there's a couple principles that we can share with you today. The first is to get an email program that you can use to collect and collate all of your email addresses. Again, I personally use Outlook because that's something that our institution uses a lot of. This way you're never scrambling to find email from separate email addresses, and again, it just comes to one central inbox. The second is to making sure you have an organized inbox with folders and labels. This is really important for one-touching your email because it allows you to either manage it and send it to the trash or put it into a file or a folder for later use. As we talked about automations before, there's actually automations and rules you can program into each email inbox that will again streamline the flow. Things like sending emails with particular keywords either directly to the trash or again directly to one of your pre-made folders. And finally, having an app that can help you manage your email to-dos is crucial. I use a combination of the Todoist app as well as Instapaper, and I find this is an amazing way to prioritize my workflow. As a side note, every time a spam email gets through to my inbox, I take the time to unsubscribe and block that sender, so hopefully I won't hear from them again. And finally, probably my favorite productivity hack is to create a killer to-do list. And you can use any method you want to, like bullet journaling or using a classic agenda. But my personal favorite is using the productivity planner method. Now, this method allows you to write down your most important task of the day. It's the one task that you have to get done in your busy schedule. I find that this really helps me set my sights and prioritize for the day. If you're someone who prefers digital platforms, there's a great app that mimics this called the Todoist. However, if you're like me and you still love putting pen to paper, I highly recommend the Productivity Planner. In review, my top 5 productivity hacks for doctors are to master your calendar, streamline your workflow with automation, digitize your note-taking, one-touch your email, and create killer to-do lists. If this was helpful for you, please consider subscribing and reach out to me if you have any questions. If you have any productivity hacks of your own, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. See you next time.